Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. As grade 6 students prepare to sit the common entrance examination, the principal of the Canon Laurie Anglican Primary School spoke to Hot 7 TV News about students' level of preparedness and areas of weakness or strength identified following the mock exam.
Grade 6 students in St. Lucia will sit the common entrance examination on June 30th, 2021. This year, only the multiple choice component will be administered. As the exam date draws nearer, many schools have administered mock exams to their grade 6 students to gauge students' level of preparedness for the exam. Principal of the Canon Laurie Anglican Primary School, Nikita Alexander, explained that there are still many areas that need to be worked on.
Mathematics continues to be an area where we have to push our students. The general paper is another area because constant revision is key. And we emphasize with our students that it's not just a one-shot. You have to continue to study the information given to you every single day. It must be consistent. So as a school now, we have recognized the deficient areas, and of course we are targeting those areas so that we ensure that our students improve significantly in the weak areas.
Alexander explained that the results of the exams helped put in perspective which students need more help. However, it also served as a wake-up call to students to ensure they are taking their studies seriously.
This was an eye-opener for some of them. They realized that, look, I need to do better. I need to pay attention. I need to work harder. So we're hoping that this will provide the momentum for them to improve their performance.
She says given the roller coaster ride that the academic year was, students will continue needing the support of both family and school to ensure they are able to put their best foot forward and perform to their maximum capability come June.
Some students are pleased with their results, teachers as well, but of course, you know, there is always work to be done. And since some of them missed out quite a lot, we know that they have to work overtime. So right now, we are continuing to give them additional practice. We need parents on board with us because they have to provide that support at home. They have to constantly review with their children. It cannot be the teachers alone. So everyone knows what is at stake. They know what it takes, and everyone must be willing to put in the efforts.
She is of the belief, however, that students will prove just how resilient they are, and the majority will do exceptionally well at the upcoming common entrance exams. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Genevieve Gonzalez.
Professor Joel Warrican of UWI Cave Hill campus, who holds a PhD in education, language and literacy, says it is an injustice that in the face of trauma from COVID-19 and the ashfall of La Soufrière volcano, pupils are still being made to take the common entrance examination. Dr. Warrican, the director of the School of Education at UWI Cave Hill, was critical of CXC on its stance with CSEC and CAPE exams, as well as Caribbean Education Ministry's position on common entrance. His statement came 2 days after the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, the watchdog for children's rights, urged Caribbean Ministries of Education to prevail upon CXC to make changes to the exams so as not to disadvantage students. The professor says while people point to the plight of secondary school-age students and the perceived injustice being dealt to them by CXC, they are overlooking another injustice wrought by others in a different quarter. The injustice, he says, is that education ministers in the region, in the face of all trauma, have still found a way of ensuring that primary school students write the common entrance examination, known by different names in different countries in the region, but the same beast. He explained that while most English-speaking Caribbean countries report having forms of continuous assessment in primary schools, the examination remained the unshakable and relied on means of transferring students to secondary schools as a fair system. He says rather than being fair, it is unjust as it perpetuates a system of elitism that ensures that students from certain backgrounds are awarded places in prestigious schools, while the others are farmed out to schools that are under-resourced and undervalued. In other news, the Department of Forestry confirms that it has had to report to 2 separate incidents of boa constrictors being found on various compounds. The acting chief forestry officer explained that one incident was at the Soufrière Comprehensive Secondary School, the other in Boaden Jacmel. He says given that it is breeding season, now more than ever, any sightings of the snakes need to be reported to the department.
On Saturday, the Department of Forestry was notified of a boa constrictor on the compounds of the Soufrière Comprehensive Secondary School. Days later, the department was summoned to Boaden Jacmel to extract another boa from a residential property. The acting chief forestry officer, Alwyn Donnelly, says the increased sightings of boas all over the island are for various reasons.
For a number of reasons, we might be, having increased encounters. Or it could also mean too that, because of the department's education, campaigns in the past, that there is a greater awareness, of the wildlife species of snakes. And I say snakes, because we've been getting, higher reports, and perhaps too there is a greater frequency of a greater frequency, between people, and snakes.
The Department of Forestry continues to urge members of the public to contact the department whenever snakes are spotted in residential areas or outside of their natural habitat. Donnelly explains that it is a lot more likely to find boas in Jacmel. He explained that some areas should expect to see an increase in the sightings of boas.
Around now, yes, would be the mating season or the breeding season for lots of wildlife species. It could be very much too that somebody could have been holding it and it escaped. But we know that in the Jacmel, the Boaden area, it's a place where you can find the boa. So it is not uncommon for us to get reports or even have to go and pick up, boas from that area. I think on one or two previous occasions, we've had to go and pick up boas, in that general area.
The St. Lucian boa is one of the few non-poisonous snakes on the island and is a protected species. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Genevieve Gonzague.
Women in the tourism and agriculture industries are to benefit from small grants as part of the Enabling Gender-Responsive Disaster Recovery, Climate and Environmental Resilience in the Caribbean Engender project. In countries like St. Lucia, which rely heavily on agriculture and tourism, the project seeks to address some of the gaps to ensure equal access to disaster risk reduction and climate change and environment solutions. Check presentations were made to 2 sectors on Friday.
Under the Engender project, Global Affairs Canada has repurposed funds for COVID-19 response through UN Women Multi-Country Office in the form of small grants for the tourism and agriculture industry. The funds are being offered as a source of relief to persons within the industries who have been affected negatively by the COVID-19 pandemic. At a presentation ceremony on Friday, the Gender Relations Director, Janie Joseph, said the ultimate outcome is to support improved climate conditions for women and girls.
At the time of conceptualizing the project, and even up to the point of the launch of the project in 2019, no one had predicted that the world would be gripped with a crippling pandemic that would change the lives of so many for the duration of the project. In March 2020, we were delighted and indeed relieved to be informed that the Government of Canada had approved the repurposing of $1 million towards the participating COVID-19 for the participating countries for their COVID-19 response initiatives. Shortly after that, UN Women Multi-Country Office for the Caribbean reached out to the gender bureaus of the 9 participating countries to find out how the most vulnerable members of our society were surviving in this situation. It became very clear in the pandemic that women were disproportionately affected in various ways.
For the tourism industry, a check will be dispersed among 60 women craft vendors and tour guides across St. Lucia via cash grants and food vouchers for 2 consecutive months. Tercel Louis is the Tourism and Research Officer in the Ministry of Tourism.
So the Ministry of Tourism has actually been one of the supporting agencies alongside the Ministry of Equity in the initial processing of the government's income support program, which was introduced last year, June. And that was a means of providing support to non-NIC contributors during the island-wide shutdown, and that was due to COVID. So almost half of the applicants who applied for that program was from the tourism sector. And one of the major challenges in processing these applicants for that program was getting the applicants to provide proof, because some of these persons in the informal sector, they really don't keep any proof of their business receipts, bills, to that effect. So there were many persons who applied for the income support, and like we said, they were not able to get through that program, as well as there were persons who missed the deadline in applying for the income support, in that they did not know that the program existed and they did not get a chance to benefit from that support as well. So this program provides them with an opportunity to get some kind of relief during the pandemic.
For the Ministry of Agriculture, a check for 50 small rural female farmers to purchase farming equipment will be dispersed. Kemuel Jean-Baptiste is the Chief Extension Officer in the Ministry of Agriculture.
Climate change and climate variability has, of course, had its impact on agriculture. And very often, the impacts have been at the core of agriculture, at the primary production level very often. So you have challenges with production, you have challenges with productivity. And the obvious outcome is usually compromise livelihood opportunities, reduce labor, and so on. But put COVID-19 into the mix, and there has been a shift. And the shift is very specifically in relation to the impact it has on women. At the farm level, women are very often involved, although that is changing, in manual labor related to weeding and so on. But beyond the primary production, women are the key players in marketing of fresh agricultural produce, particularly at our community and street markets.
The Department of Gender Relations will be working closely with the UN Women Multi-Country Office and representatives of the tourism and agriculture industries to guarantee that funds will be allocated appropriately to beneficiaries. For the Hot 7 News, Nisha Charles reporting.
Stay with us, there's more news after the break.